stopped by David Cooper. Back with Wilkins. Absolutely magnificent from Ray Wilkins. Well with the header, but it's Durant again. The last chance perhaps for Rangers. The chance is on for goal. Makes it 2-apiece. Johnston, and he scored.
Against Cantwell, nicely left there by Haitley, and here's the break on. It's Ian Durant, through to Haitley. McCoist on the far side. Gary Speed is racing back to provide the cover. Here's Ali McCoist. Oh, he's done it! Ali McCoist for Rangers.
Here's Gascoigne now. Can he produce some magic? Still it's Gascoigne. Oh yes! A tremendous goal by Gascoigne. It's been very evenly balanced. Here's Gascoigne now, pushing forward. Showing great determination. Oh, he's done it again!
There's a slip by O'Neill, and Laudrup to win. Rangers look for a goal and get one in the 8th minute from Brian Laudrup. And Celtic's wall is 5 strong, but Alberts gets it through. The hammer has torn Celtic apart.
It's Barry Ferguson. Oh yes! The captain shows the way. Here now is Neil McCann. Is there going to be a twist in the tail? Lovenkrands! Yes, there is! Peter Lovenkrands! It had to be him! He has surely won the Scottish Cup!
Like this, here's Davis, put in by Darshville. Davis! Darshville! They've nicked it! Away from home! Manchester, brace yourself. Rangers are coming!
Bit of stoppage time. Kevin Thompson's corner. It's Bruguera! Borat stops it! Boyd! Edu has put it in! Morris Edu! Right at the end!
There's no doubt Vice has made an impact since he has come onto the park. Jelavic is in behind. It's Jelavic for Rangers! It's gone in!
Jelavic onto Davis, and Lafferty's in already. He scored inside the first minute. Luco, definitely a threat. Still going. That is just brilliant. A goal for Luco. A goal for the fans. A goal for the cause. Here's Mackay. Barry Mackay. Kent looking to make it happen here. He might just do that. Right, Jack! Deflected off Brown and in!
And Gulacsi was missing, and there's Lundstrom! John Lundstrom with the goal! But here's Joe Aribo, a slip from Tutan. Aribo! A bolt from the blue! Joe Aribo!
Hi there to everybody watching. Welcome to the live match reaction pod where Rangers have defeated Livingston 3-0 away from home. Before I introduce my guests, just want to say as always, if you haven't already, just remember, give us a like and subscribe in all the normal places. But we've got a couple of guests. I used to think Dave was quite far away from me once upon a time, but he's not now. How are you doing today, Dave?
Aye, not too bad, mate. 3 points always nice, and probably a walk around the road, but compared to our other guest.
Yeah. And we've got the Texas Ranger back on again. How are you doing, Craig?
Very well, mate. Thanks for having me on again. How are you?
Yeah, it's always good when Rangers have won. I like an early kick-off, but I suppose it must be nice for you starting your day off by lunchtime.
I'm still having my morning coffee, so there you go.
Oh, it's different gravy. Look, Dave, I'll start with you first. We'll just get straight into it. We'll talk about the Rangers lineup. Rangers lined up with McGregor, Tav at right back, Goldson, Ben Davis, Barisic, Kamara, Raskin, Fashion Zakala, Cantwell, and Kent and Morelos up top. Couple of observations. I don't think there was too many surprises given the manager's press conference a couple of days, other than the omission of Tillman. But for me, this is the first time since Beale sort of came in where I've looked at the bench and maybe thought maybe a wee bit light in the bench.
I agreed. I think the fact the two young lads were there told you everything. Especially Lovelace, if I'm being honest. Rice, potentially a wee bit further away from the first team, people might have thought. But the converse of that is you already had Čolak, you had Roofe on the bench, putting Lovelace as well. There's no way all three of them are coming on. And you know the manager's going to be trying to get some minutes into Roofe and Čolak ahead of next weekend. So, yeah, I think there was a bit of a kind of, we'll just top it up from the youth team feel towards that.
Yeah, and same question to you, Craig. I mean, it was immediately obvious that there was no Tillman, no Lundstrom, and no Jack involved today. I think the manager said hopefully the weekend off helps him to be available for next week, but it's by no means certain in this moment in time, which before the game had me a wee bit worried.
Yeah, I think we have the numbers to cover it now, you know. I think with Cantwell and Raskin coming in, I think we'd be disappointed. We didn't see them starting. You know, Michael Beale said he wanted players to come in and hit the ground running, and I think they've done exactly that. I'm sure we'll get into it, but you know, let Jack and Lundstrom get fit and up to speed. But I think they've got a jersey to earn again, if you're asking me.
Yeah, 100%. It's what we've all been crying out for, I think, for a long time this season as a bit of competition for places. And I think with the introduction of Cantwell and Raskin, who we'll both discuss, yeah, I think that's certainly changed. I'll stick with you, Craig. I don't know. I mean, I'll say it straight off the bat. I found it a bit difficult. There was chances were few and far between, I think, throughout the whole game. But we'll try and pick apart a few. The sort of first 5 minutes, I thought that Rangers were the first real chance, I should say, was Rangers had a corner. It was a play between Ben Davis, who found himself high up the pitch, Cantwell and Tav, which resulted in Tav having a good shot from outside the box. And this is the way I thought the whole game was going to go. I thought, this is going to be it. Is this the game that Rangers decide just to pepper the Livingston goal with shots from outside the box? But how do you felt that Rangers started in the opening 5 minutes, Craig?
I thought we started certainly the brighter team. I think we had all the possession. I think we played the game in Livy's half. I don't mind that from Tav, if I'm being honest. I mean, he's capable of it. And, you know, with them flooding the box, you know, you have to try and get the opening goal and get the game rolling in their favour. So it was to be expected. But, you know, I don't mind that from Tav because, as I said, I think he's more than capable.
Yeah, and Dave, I'll ask you a similar question in terms of the opening 10 minutes. Again, I was very, very encouraged by this. We saw a couple of long balls, we saw a couple of balls out wide, we saw some really good passing, you know, 1-2 touch stuff between it, and I thought this is us, this is Rangers going to go on. And I mean, I suppose we did dominate the game to an extent, but I was just. Yeah, it was quite a positive start, and I thought this is Rangers showing Livingston all the ways that we can attack.
I agreed. Worth noting, I think the first couple of minutes where there was a few mistakes, we did look a wee bit sloppy, and I'm not going to lie, I had probably a bit of the fear from that, but it was very quickly we kind of settled into. I wouldn't say we were dominating them, but we were certainly dominating the ball. We were keeping it, as you say, we were knocking about some nice 1-2s. We had a bit of variation in the play, and yeah, I think positive without really doing anything, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, 100% agree with you there. I'm sure that is a word that we will use several times throughout this pod as we will describe the performance as comfortable, because it was at the end of the day very comfortable, but you just. I mean, it's Rangers. You've always got that
especially when it was 1,
Yeah, that wee voice in the back of your head saying, oh, listen, you know, it's something can still happen here. Dave, I'll stick with you here on the next talking point. 9 minutes in, a ball it finds the back of the net. I can't actually remember if this was Kent or Cantwell, but it was a lovely ball through to Morelos, who was just in the left-hand side of the 18-yard box, who something he's really added to his game in recent weeks. I've found he's been a bit more selfless in terms of, you know, willing to find people in the box, and he picks out Fashion Sakala. He heads the ball in the net, but he's offside. I feel like I said this quite a lot during the Hearts game. He's got to be doing a wee bit better here. He's just stick back by half a yard, and that's us 1-0 up in the first 10 minutes.
I think, and you know, I don't want to be harsh to the guy. Everyone loves Sakala, as do I, but I think that goal probably really encapsulates Sakala in a nutshell. It was a really good finish, but it's incredibly poor for him to be offside for that goal. There was just no need for it. He could have cut the other side of the defender, cut in front of him. He's got the pace to do it. We all know that. And he could have put himself in the same position without being offside. And yeah, as you alluded to, when you combine that with the amount of times between him and Morelos they were offside, you are kind of looking for a wee bit better for your starting players for Rangers.
Yeah, 100%. And Craig, the next wee point here is on 13 minutes. Ryan Kent, I seen got a bit of a mixed bag on social media. I've seen some people frustrated with him. I actually thought he was okay in that first half in terms of a lot of play went through him. Something that I think that Rangers may have been working on in training is you can see the ball gets fired into him and it's a one touch, it's straight back. He's almost acting as the wall player, so to speak. But there was a move here. He played a really, really fantastic ball into Cantwell. And this is perhaps where I started getting a wee bit frustrated that I was like, come on, we've got to score already here. But instead of shooting, he played the ball into Sakala, and he doesn't find him. I don't know, I found this maybe sort of summed Rangers up a wee bit this season where it's just that final ball, the final decision making is just lacking a wee bit at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Kyle. I think I said on the group chat, we're not ruthless enough. You can even say that going back to the Hearts game there. Obviously the performance was a much higher standard in that game, and we tore them apart, but we still weren't ruthless enough. Kent was okay in the moment. In the heat of the moment, you have that passion. You're like, you have that expectation. Kent is one of these players that needs to make things happen. And although he was involved in the only really output in the first half, I thought was Fashion, even though he was offside and couldn't get in the score sheet. But I thought he was our output in the first half, and Kent was his usual industrious self, but not really creating anything clear cut for me.
Yeah, totally agree there. It was a bit frustrating. Going to do something I don't normally do here, Dave, and during a post-match reaction, I'm going to not talk about football, oddly enough. It was round about, I think, the 15-minute mark. There was a banner revealed in the away end. I think there was quite a few banners revealed today, which I was texting Craig, who was at the game, and I think he couldn't believe the amount of banners that were on show. But again, something that's maybe met a bit of a mixed reaction on social media. I mean, I'm in no way, shape or form criticising Union Bears because I think they do great work at all the games and they're a really huge part of the atmosphere. But they unveiled a banner here that said 2 trophies in 11 years, uphold the standards that matter. And I don't think it was a coincidence that they were singing the Malik Tillman song as well. What do you think about this banner, and is it quite harsh given that, 13 games and he's won 12 and drawn the other one?
I think for me, and this is just my personal view, everyone will have a slightly different take on it, I'm sure, but for me it just felt unnecessary. Yeah. So I get, it's probably a bit of a protest because Beale let Partick score last week. As you say, the Malik Tillman song kind of alludes to that, and people will have their own views on whether that's right or wrong. But Beale's won all but one of his games in charge, and even that one was a draw. He hasn't had a chance to win any trophies yet. If this was 2 weeks' time and we've done something like that in the League Cup final, fair dues. You could understand fans having that viewpoint, but I don't know what more the guy can have done at this point. Next week's his first chance to win silverware. If he wins it, then that's 1-for-1. You can't ask much better than that. Well,
Yeah.
sorry, 1-for-1 without losing a game as well. So yeah, it felt a bit unnecessary. It felt like it was building a bit of tension that maybe just didn't need to be there. And that's kind of my take on it. But as I say, I know a lot of people are going to have kind of different views on it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the word unnecessary is very apt in this instance. And Craig, I'll be dead keen to get your thoughts on it, from afar, because I imagine you have a different sort of look at these things. But yeah, it was just unnecessary, I think, is the right word for it. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree with Dave. I think I said in the group chat.
Nope.
Oh, there we go. It's broken the internet because somebody's agreed with you there, Dave. That's
I
what's
know.
happened.
That's probably fair.
No, that's fine. Well, as I said, I think Craig was about to go on and say very similar to you there. So we'll wait and see if Craig joins us back. Look, we'll go on to the next wee point here. At 19 minutes, it's a Barisic free kick into the box that finds Tav, and it's another long range shot that he has, and it's saved by Jamal George. I think I've written this down because I think more to talk about Jamal George than anything else. I was quite impressed by him today. What do you think this is a guy that Rangers should maybe be looking at, given that we've got a goalkeeping crisis?
See, I think that's hard because do you know what? Yeah, the guy had a good game today, even at that third goal. He made a cracking stop before Roofe eventually put it in the net. But by the same token, there's a lot of keepers that have a good game against us, and I think you need to see that consistently over many games. Now, I'm not going to say I watch loads of Livy games, but
Yeah.
I assume our scouts do, and I assume they'd have an idea of whether he is capable of delivering that consistently. I'm just thinking back the last few games. There's been quite a few good saves. There was, I think the Dundee United keeper got quite a few good saves as well, and was it not Clark at Hearts? I think saved a few on top of scoring 5. So yeah, keepers do tend to come into a game against us purely because they have a lot of shots against them. I think you need to take a more kind of all-round view for than just kind of how they play against us or Celtic.
Yeah, totally agree with you there. It is a difficult one, but for what it's worth, I think he's been quite good since he came in for Livingston. And you're right. I can't say to have watched Livingston religiously in and out the SPFL, but he just looks a big 6 foot.
He does look comfortable, and he's got the size.
Yeah, and another thing, I think he actually worked with Beale at Liverpool at one point as well. So we know how much he loves a player from Liverpool, does Beale. But there you go. Good to have you back, Craig. As I said, that'll teach you for agreeing with Dave there. The internet breaks down. So
never again.
There we go. And listen, Scott Mitchell, you've absolutely saved my bacon here. He's come in saying George is statistically the best in the league according to the resident stats. Nerd Patrick Raskin. So if Patrick's saying he's good enough, I'll take it.
You know what? If Patrick says I'm fine with that.
That's it. Look, the next point to talk about here, Craig, comes on 21 minutes. It's a shot tug on Morelos. This is before the penalty's awarded. I've written a sweary word down here. That's how much I said it's a clear penalty, surely. The ref goes over to check the monitor and he doesn't do a Willie Collum. He actually goes with the decision that he's been made to look at on the monitor. Martindale, he looked gutted, then he looked pleased. But it's a howler from the Livingston defender if you're a Livingston supporter. Tav, who misses his last penalty, bit of pressure here away from home, steps up and it's a really good penalty and makes it 1-0.
Great penalty, especially off the back of him putting one down the middle and being saved there. So well on Tav to come in and put it away. I don't know how defenders think they can get away with this anymore. I mean, it's as clear and obvious as it's going to get. The referee had literally no choice. I couldn't catch the ref's positioning at the time, but I mean, I could see it for 4,000 miles away. So, so there you go. I thought right decision in the end, good penalty, and we needed it because we were fumbling for chances at the time.
Yeah, again, it's hard to disagree with you there, because the next point that I've made is I'm really, really disappointed, Dave, that how long that took to give that penalty. I mean, it was. I mean, why is the referee going over at the monitor for that? Surely they've just got to say it's a clear shot pull, like it's a penalty, end of discussion.
Yeah, I can't speak for the ref, obviously. I don't know if there was maybe some dubiety in his mind, because Morelos was never getting to that ball, 100% never getting to it. But by the rules of the game, it doesn't get much more obvious than that, you know.
Yeah.
Stupid from the Livy boy, night and day. If the ref can't see that, that's probably a worry in its own right on his positioning. But yeah, you'd have thought VAR takes one look at that and says penalty all day long.
Yeah, 100%. It was just so frustrating how long that took. It should never ever take that long to award something like that, because it's clear and obvious, and it was clear and obvious.
It shouldn't take that long to award any decision, because if it takes that long, it's clearly not clear and obvious. But in that case, I mean, like you said, that should have just been cut and dry. You know,
Yeah,
there's no debate over that.
no.
Christ, even a Celtic fan can say that we didn't deserve that one.
Yeah,
They probably
but
can.
they will.
Aye.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry. I'll wait for my social media to be awash with why it wasn't a penalty later on. That's cool. So, Craig, the next point here, I have said it's a bit of an immediate wake-up call for Rangers. Maybe writing this down at the time, written it down a bit hasty, but about a minute after we scored that penalty, there was a long throw from Livy, and I think it's the boy Obalai who got his head on the ball quite a lot today. Wins a header, and he's flashed it right across the box, and the boy Penrith, who gave away the penalty, no idea how he missed that, but I was a wee bit worried, and I thought, oh no, this is the way the rest of this game is going to go. But yeah, were you a bit worried at that point, perhaps, that Livingston were maybe going to go on and come into the game a wee bit more here?
Yeah, I have that same fear factor. These set of players, especially the core ones, have trust issues, a bit of PTSD over the years. So I think in hindsight, you watch the game back, you will be a lot more comfortable than it looked at the time. But I always thought Livy just were sniffing around. You know, they only needed one or two chances to maybe get the game back on level terms. And so, I mean, especially the longer the game went on, I think we were still 1-0, the 70-minute mark, or whatever it was. And that's what I was saying at the time. You know, people are starting to praise Cantwell and Raskin's performance, and I'm like, hold on a minute, can we just get the result first, and then we can review some performances? So I did share that sentiment with you, and but in the first half, I think we dominated. You know, there's only one or two wee incidents for Livy in the first half, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 100%. There was, yeah. Look, at hindsight's a wonderful thing after you've done these things. But yeah, I was a wee bit worried at that point that Livy may perhaps come into it a wee bit more, because we were quite going forward and quite direct at that point. Dave, I'll come to you the next point. How did you feel Rangers were sort of playing up until the 30-minute mark? Because I just felt there was quite a lack of directness, a lack of penetration going forward. I mean, there was a few crosses, but there was no clear-cut chances. And I've written down here big capital letters: are Rangers overplaying the ball too much?
Yeah, 100%. I think it was quite telling, before the game even started, Beale had his pre-match interview. He specifically said that we were going to be playing, this game was going to be in the two boxes. I don't think it was. I think there was an awful lot of build-up play through the middle. Some of it quite nice, intricate, one-touch stuff. But we just never seemed to have the person in the right place in the box, bar obviously the penalty. And I would slightly worryingly suggests that actually the best chance of that half from open play probably fell to Penrice that you just mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. It was poor from Rangers from that regards. But yeah, as you said, I just felt we could have been a bit more ruthless in that final third. But yeah, it's certainly something we'll come on to later on in the podcast. Craig, I'll come to you in the next point here. I know we were talking about this before we came on, and it's still doing my nut in, to be honest with you, because we haven't really seen a clear replay of it. But Rangers won the ball in the middle of the park. Cantwell, I love this pass so much. Just the first time, sort of on a half volley, it was an excellent pass to find the on-running Kent. From my I mean, it's difficult to understand because of how late the refs are putting their flags up, or the linesmen are putting their flags up these days. But there was no offside, and then Kent just gets absolutely cleaned out here by the Livingston defender. Just there's no attempt to play the ball. He doesn't make any contact with the ball. He just takes his legs away from him. How is this not penalty number 2 for Rangers?
I don't know what you want me to add to that, from honest, Kyle. That's exactly how it happened. You know, I think what we harped on was, you know, they didn't show the replay. At least they didn't on the feed I was watching. It'd be interesting to go back and watch and see where Kent's starting position was. But what a pass from Cantwell. It was unbelievable. But, you know, I tell you, it could have been offside, but there was no confirmation. So none of us can actually say for sure. But it was a foul. You know, if that's a foul anywhere in the park's a penalty. But if it was offside, then it was the right decision. But we didn't get the confirmation.
Yeah, but that's the thing about it. I mean, there's been so much discussion around refs, certainly in the last few weeks, maybe not from us in terms of putting the pressure on them, but it's decisions like this that make you, it's got to be having an effect on them, because as you said, if there was an offside, it was not made clear that there was an offside. Callum C says here, nobody said it was offside, and even the linesman didn't put a flag up. So that's just why I'm struggling to understand why.
Well, the ref did. He made the gesture that when he looked over at the linesman, it was offside. But, you know,
okay,
seemed like a big deal of it. And the Rangers commentators didn't pick up on it on the Ranger and on the review. But the referee, to be fair to him, he looked over at the linesman, put his hand up for offside, and that's what was given. So we have to go on that.
Yeah, just it needs to be better, but there we go.
Kyle, is there an argument that that's a booking anyway, Phil? Because if that's an off-the-ball incident anywhere else on the pitch, Morelos did that to someone, regardless of whether, you know, he was on the ball or not. That'd be a foul, wouldn't it? It'd be a booking.
100%. It's too inconsistent.
Aye.
But yeah, as 555 the
yes, please.
Yeah, a Tav pen to win the cup would do next week. Yeah, I think we would all absolutely love that. That would be
Tav pen based off a no foul would be even nicer.
Yeah,
just saying.
Off of a dodgy VAR decision, I'll take that all day long.
Exactly.
Yeah. The next wee couple of points here. There was 6 minutes of added time on to the first half. I'm assuming because of how long it took to award that bloody penalty. But on 46 minutes here, Dave, it's a corner. The ball finds Tav, finds Kamara again, who uses Cantwell as a sort of wall, and he fires an excellent shot. And it's another good save by George here. And then there's another direct run from Sakala towards the box. He finds Morelos, who finds Sakala again, but it's well defended. I'd just like a wee word on what you thought about Sakala today. And I mean, certainly against Partick Thistle, I thought he was missing because of the directness and the width to give us. Okay, he had a few duff touches and what have you, but I felt that he was okay, did well today, but did everything apart from getting in the score sheet.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, Scala, you get the good, you get the bad. If a guy with that pace had the touch of Messi, he's not playing his football in Scotland. So I think we have to accept, you know, there are going to be times where we'll maybe be a bit frustrated. He'll try to control it. It won't come off, or his first touch will be a bit heavy. But there's times where he just produces moments and you think, God, how did you do that? So I think he was a lot better today than maybe the last couple of times we've seen him. I do think we miss him v Partick. I think we had slower players in there that are maybe a wee bit more creative, but we're getting quite used to seeing Kent and Sakala on the wings now, interchanging as and when needed, providing the width when needed, and being able to run onto balls. And in the nicest possible way, regardless of his injury, Hadji isn't really one that's going to blast past defenders into space behind. And I suppose, to be fair, we were never going to get that space against Partick anyway. I think Livy were sitting quite deep for the start. I think once we got the goal, they sort of came out a wee bit. I'm not going to say they went all out attack because it's Livy and they don't. But by the same token, I think we did have a wee bit of space, which is ideal for the likes of Sakala to run into.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think it's certainly something that we need to utilise, and it'll be interesting to see. I think the Sakala's a nailed on starter for next weekend is well. Sorry, you probably just saw me laughing a wee bit off screen there, but it's because I've written down in 51 minutes we got a free kick about 25 yards out, and I've written down these words: Tav taking it. Barisic surely has to have a go. Sick of Tav taking free kicks. But we'll come on to that. Craig, I'd just like to get your overall thoughts on the first half and how Rangers played. And for me, I was a bit frustrated with the front three at times. I thought the midfield was a bit more solid than what it was last week as well. But yeah, just your overall thoughts in the first half as a whole.
Yeah, I think Dave touched upon it there. Livy sat very deep. The game was played in their half, bar the chance for the boy that we talked about earlier. But I think Rangers were okay. We moved the ball quite well. It's always that final end product that was letting us down, but it was congested in the box. So you talk about Sakala, he's better with space to run onto, right? But so he maybe had a tough time in the first half because he just wasn't afforded the space and had to kind of battle for smaller spaces. But I thought we were okay, relatively comfortable. But it's all about that second goal. I feel like this team struggled to get that second, and today was no different. I know we did in the end, but it took till late on to get it till we're a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, I agree. And Dave, just your overall thoughts on that, the first half as well. Just a bit, I don't know, just comfortable but not ruthless. And I feel like I'll say that about 45 million times during this pod.
I think if you want one word, it's probably uninspiring.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe
it. It's literally like you said, we were comfortable, bar that Penrice chance. There was nothing that really kind of made me think, oh God, here we go. But we didn't necessarily look like putting them to the sword either. And as Craig said, that second goal, it just, you were starting to wonder if it was going to come or if we were going to be holding out for a 1-0 win at Livy. It's not ideal. I suppose the one thing I will say about the team is they seem to play to the level of the opposition. And I felt they were a bit like this under Gerrard as well, when obviously Beale was one of the prominent coaches. But it seems like, against Celtic, I suspect our levels will go up a few. Whereas here, we were comfortable, we did enough, but you still feel like there's a lot more to come from that team.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, Dave. That's a good few points there. It was largely uninspiring, but comfortable at the end of the day. Craig, I'll come to you in the next sort of points here. I found this quite from about 45 minutes to 65 minutes. I don't really have much written down. Again, Rangers came out, started well. I thought it was a bit more intense. Sakala, who had a good run into the box, and again he absolutely blasted the ball at Jamal George again, who had another good save. But up until this point, it just, I don't know. I felt it was Rangers that was making this game a bit of a slog. I don't know what it was today. I wouldn't say that the front three weren't clicking as such. I just felt that some of the decision making was a bit poor up until this point.
Yeah, maybe. And I think there was no changes at half time, so it was almost like more of the same once the second half started. There was a wee passage of play down the left. I think it was Barisic, Kent, and Kamara were linking up and kind of going nowhere. And then Cantwell took the ball, opened up his body and finds Sakala, and all of a sudden we've got a chance. I thought he was unlucky, hit the target, and even when it rebounded, he put it back into the box for any takers. So that was the one that stuck out before the free kick came upon us. Again, Livy were sitting quite deep, so trying to make chances in tight spaces is pretty tough. I think the manager bringing Roofe on, he's probably our best player at that. And that proved to be correct. So again, hindsight's wonderful, isn't it?
Tell me about it. Dave, Pete Lawrence makes a wee point here, somebody that I definitely want to talk about today. And Craig messaged me during the game saying that he felt that he had a particularly good game, and it was Glenn Kamara. I thought he was very, very good today in terms of the last couple of games have been a bit frustrated, and when he's got the ball, he turns back, he passes it back, or he slows it down a wee bit, etc. But for this, he was on it today. He was driving us forward. It was really interesting to see that when either Tav or Barisic went forward, he was the one that was sort of slotting into that left or right back position. I maybe expected it to be Raskin at times, but yeah, a word on Glenn Kamara's performance today.
I thought Kamara was good today. I think he's a lot better than he has been in the last few games. I would suggest, and people might not like this because it maybe takes away from Kamara a bit, I think Raskin gave him that opportunity to be able to do that. I think Raskin is the key. If you think about it before, so we've had, say, Stephen Davis and Kamara, or Lundstrom and Kamara. I think Raskin actually gives you the range of passing of a Davis, but he also gives you the ability to break up play and to win the ball back of, say, a Ryan Jack, or what we've been trying to get Lundstrom to do. And I think that freed up Kamara to go play in behind the fullbacks as and when needed. I think the two of them make quite a nice combination. It's early days. Obviously, we need to see a lot more games, but those two look like they could play really well together today, and hopefully they bring the best out of each other.
Yeah, I agree with you. We've got a couple of opposing comments on that. We've got AG who says Kamara is shocking. You know, it's all about opinion here. I think there has been games where he has been shocking this season. I don't think today was one of them. And as always, on cue, if you mentioned Kamara, and he will appear, here he is, Ross. Kyle, I always appreciate Glenn Kamara positivity. What a player. Maybe that's because I've been quite harsh about him in the last few weeks. But the next chance here, Craig, that we'll come on to talk about was the 65-minute mark. Tav had an excellent through ball to Kent, who from the halfway line was basically one-on-one with the goalkeeper. I seen a bit of criticism, you know, why didn't he take it past the goalkeeper? Why didn't he chip around the goalkeeper? But his one of his touches was very, very heavy in here, just outside the box. But it's another good save from the Livingston goalkeeper. Kent's got to be doing a bit better here, doesn't he?
He has to bury it for me. You know, that's he needs goals, and that's a golden opportunity. I've seen people saying on the group chat, "I bet he took a heavy touch." But that's part of the problem. You know, I think he's got to take a better touch because he's clean through, and he's just got to knock it past the goalie or around him, whatever the case may be. Easy for me to say, sit here. But yeah, for me, I think that in terms of chances for open play today, there were few and far between. That was by far our best one from open play that we didn't take. For me, he's got to bury it, Kyle.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll stick with you, Craig, on this point. 68 minutes, Sakala comes off for Kamar Roofe. I thought it was very telling that Beals picked Roofe over Cholak in this instance, even though I think Cholak's still our top goal scorer this season. Or maybe Tav might be level with him now. I need to double check that, but he's certainly up there. And within about 30 seconds of coming on, Roofe shows you exactly what he can do from this position. This pass from Cantwell just again had me absolutely watering at the mouth. But it's a really, really good ball through. Took one touch and he just hits it wide of the post. But again, I think there was maybe a save here, but 30 seconds of coming on. It's exactly what you want round about the 70-minute mark, isn't it?
Yeah, his movement's the best of all the strikers we have in and around the box, I think. So I think before him, Jermaine Defoe was probably a similar kind of player. He'll get you a goal, and we needed a second goal. And his movement was terrific when he came on. He always gives you a dilemma, Roofe. Obviously when he's fit and available, he's a threat. But I always never know whether to start him or bring him off because he's a great impact player. But if you need a goal, same with Cholak, our top scorer on the bench. But Roofe, his movement, I thought for that game at that particular moment, it's exactly what we needed.
Yeah, 100%. And Dave, the next point here is on 76 minutes. Roofe has the ball on the outside of the box. Something I don't really associate with Roofe is him having quite good feet. And he had really quite good feet here. I know that I'll ask you both this question if you thought it was a second yellow card for I can't remember the guy's name, but yeah. I thought it was quite clever from Roofe. It was a wee bit of the dark arts, just sort of leaving your leg dangling there. So just before we go on to the free kick, do you think that was a second yellow, harsh, or what's your thoughts on it, Dave?
Yeah, so it was Omiyonga.
That's the one.
He was the one that sort of got sent off. I do think it was a second yellow, to be honest. Yes, there's a bit of cleverness about Roofe's play. Make sure that he has that contact from Omiyonga. But by the same token, if Omiyonga hadn't stopped him, he'd have been able to get a shot off on goal. It'd have been a tight angle, potentially better feeding it across the face, but he'd have been able to do something with it and potentially create a goal scoring chance. So, yeah, I think it is a yellow on that basis. And to be blunt, the guy's stupid diving in like that. You're on a yellow already. You know the risks. You've given the ref a decision. I don't know what else you expect, especially that close to goal. So for me, yes. Soft, maybe, but yes, it is a yellow.
Yeah, and Craig, what do you think about it? Do you think that was a yellow card, or do you think Roofe's employed a wee bit of the dark arts here and bought a foul, so to speak?
I missed the replay on it, and so I seen the initial passage of play, and I thought initially, just given where it was and Roofe's away, if he gets by him, that it was a yellow card. But with the replay, I mean, I've heard some people saying that harsh, so I'd need to see it back again. But yeah, certainly at the time, I thought, yeah, it's probably a booking. I didn't know the boy was on a yellow card already at that time, so I just thought it was a booking. But it happens, as Dave says, he's given the referee a decision to make, and so it was a bit clumsy from the boy. So
yeah, totally agree. I don't know. My opinion, I love players like the player I always pick for when I'm talking about stuff like this is Sergio Ramos, and that was why he was one of my favourite players. It's just the absolute shithousery at sometimes, just winding people up. And I think Rangers at times need a wee bit more of that, just a bit more of the dark arts, and I'm always keen on highlighting instances of it. You're right. Roofe was clever. He had quick feet, dangled a leg out there, and the boy was stupid to make the challenge. So there we go. But that's enough about that part. Dave, after me on Wednesday's pod saying that Tav shouldn't take free kicks and writing in my notes here, it was inevitable that Tav was going to step up. And what a free kick this was. It was right in the top bin. Caroline here says Tav's free kick was sublime. It really, really was. He just sort of, I've been praising George all pod, but there's nothing he can do about this, and he's sort of done him a wee bit, maybe with his eyes, Tav, in this instance.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, I was the same as yourself. I don't think Tav's been great recently. I thought in this game, there was bits that he got involved, but there's a couple of times he got done by Penrice. I was a bit dubious despite him scoring the penalty, and then he took that and just made me look an idiot. You can't really get a better free kick than that. It's one of those that's just inch perfect. The boy dived for it, went the right way in the end, but just couldn't get to it. It was postage stamp was what I wrote in my notes. So yeah, you could call it all sorts of names, but incredible free kick, really well taken. And in fairness to George, I don't think many keepers are saving that, if I'm being truthful.
No, I don't think there is many, but it was a good free kick and Rangers' second goal of the day through a set piece. Craig, come on to you for the next wee couple of points here. On 78 minutes, Morelos comes off for Cholak. And then on 84 minutes, the next point to talk about is the Roofe goal. Rangers sort of load the box. It's a Barisic ball in from a corner. I think Roofe wins the initial header. I don't know if he gets the next shot away. I can't quite remember. I couldn't quite see. But again, the keeper makes a good save. And then in the third attempt, Roofe just does what any good striker does. And he just hits the ball high into the net. And yeah, it's a fantastic goal by Roofe, and why we all love him. And if he could stay fit, he would be the best player in the league, I think.
Yeah, agreed. I think Alfredo was having a poor second half, wasn't he? So I was crying out for him to be subbed a bit earlier. But I think Tam, the commentator, said that Roofe got the first shot off, so it must be true. So I think it was, to his credit, and no, it was a good finish. And again, not too many chances for open play. I think Roofe. I think he had one as soon as he came on. We talked about shot going past the post, and then his next chance he puts it away, and that's a mark of the quality that he has. If he could stay fit, he's probably the best striker at the club for me. But each to their own opinion on that. But yeah, we needed that. We need the second goal from Tav, great free kick, and then the third goal. It's just game over.
Yeah, that it was long done by that point. Keen to get your thoughts on Roofe, Dave, as a player. It is just frustrating the amount of injuries that he has, but I mean he showed what he could do today. I mean he came on 30 seconds, had a shot. He's won us the free kick for the first goal, and then he scored. The second goal, and then he scored the third goal with a really really good finish.
Yeah. To be fair, you just got my views on Roofe. Craig, I can't disagree with him. I completely agree. He is the best striker at the club when he's fit and on game. It's just unfortunate he's made of glass and won't stay fit, because if he did, we would just romp games. He's the best striker. He's probably the most accurate, if I'm sure Patrick or someone can keep me up on that. He's really clever with his movement. He's not quick, but he's not slow either. And I think a bit like Weir used to do, he can almost use his positioning to make up for the fact that he's perhaps not as quick as other players. He can pick a pass, he can hold people off. I just wish to God the guy wasn't injured all the time. And I think that, to be fair, is the only reason a lot of Rangers fans have kind of lost a bit of patience with him. Everyone I've ever seen freely admits that he is a class act as a player.
Yeah.
It's just that inability to string together, a good run of games or even a season of games. If he did, probably a 30-goal season striker right there.
Yeah, I know I'm jumping ahead of myself massively here, because I'll probably talk about this in Wednesday's pod, but would you start him on Sunday, Dave?
Nah, I'd bring him off the bench.
Oh, that's a good choice. And Craig, what you thinking similar?
Yeah, no, I said earlier that I have that, it gives you that dilemma, but I think, Roofe sat there analysing the game today, and you can see what he's coming on to. So I'd be the same as Dave. I'd probably start Morelos, and then with a view bringing him on, but I'm not the manager, so.
No, that's it. I think we'd all love to see those the knee sliding on the grass at Hampden on Sunday, because I think we'd all know what that means. Craig, I'll start with you on the sort of last. Well, we're coming up towards the last few points about the game itself. 87 minutes. JB, I could hear him cheering from the Wirral because he made the subs eventually. Again, maybe a bit longer than anticipated, but I suppose it was only about 2 minutes before us. We were 3-0 up. Kamara, Raskin and Kent, they all came off. I'm sure we'll come on to talk about those three after we've discussed the game. But James Sands, Scott Wright and 16-year-old Bailey Rice comes on to make his debut for Rangers. It's fantastic to see that guys this young. I mean, you've got to be a special talent to be making your debut for 16 at Rangers. Even more impressive was that he was playing for the Scotland under-17 squad yesterday, where was I right in saying that they beat Switzerland 7-0? Am I making that up?
7-0, yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, what's your thoughts on this? I mean, Beale, as a youth coach, he has said he wants to bring you through. He must think highly of Bailey Rice if he's bringing him on at this age.
And he looked comfortable, didn't he? And that's always the mark. You're not expecting him to go and score a hat-trick, but he slotted right in. His first passage of play looked very comfortable, made a good pass. And that's very telling for the boys' confidence at the moment. So great to see. I only fan on the planet it doesn't love to see young talent coming through. So yeah, last 5 minutes, game's dead. Bring on the boy. Give him a chance, see what he can do. It was good to see. I think in previous managers, you can set your watch by when they did the subs, right? But Michael Beale he does a bit of variation in him, but I was crying out for.
Oh, there we go.
So he's gone again.
That's all right. The Texas Rangers going again. But look, Dave, the next sort of question was sort of finalising the game. I'd just like to get your overall, thoughts on that performance. That it was a bit frustrating at times. I think we made it a bit more difficult for ourselves, and I just think if we'd have got some of the decision making a wee bit better in the final third. But yeah, what was your overall thoughts on the game as a whole?
Yeah, so I mean, defensively, we were okay. We didn't have an awful lot to contend with, and I think in most cases we dealt well okay. I did see someone saying Davies wasn't a great defender a wee while back on social media. I'm not seeing it. I think he was really well placed, knew where he had to be. His positioning's bang on. So, yeah, I thought that was good, and I think that back line's probably solidified itself. In the reverse of that, I thought the attack today wasn't brilliant. They got the job done, but there was an awful lot of kind of hesitancy, poor decision making, as you said. I think what really encouraged me for was midfield. I've seen a lot of folks saying in the comments, midfield will determine who wins the game next week. I do agree to a certain extent, and I'm actually quite happy with what I saw today in that regard. I thought Cantwell got about the pitch really well. He didn't just stay up glued to Morelos. He was back. He was defending when he had to be. Good work, great. I think for him, it's probably between him and Tillman who'll start. We know what Tillman brings. Just seen a stat. He's at the young kids in Europe, he's one of the best for duels and winning the ball back. So, I think that bodes well along with what we saw from Cantwell today. But I'd just like to put in a special mention for Raskin. And then I tell the wife or kids, but I love that boy. He looks like he is going to be a class act for us. He gets about the pitch everywhere. He's progressive. He wants to play forward. He wins that ball back regardless of where it is on the pitch. So I was actually really encouraged by the midfield performance today, if not the overall performance. But as I said, this team does have a habit of lifting its levels to fit the game. So I think overall, yeah, quite happy with today. Job done, and some positive signs out of it.
Yeah, totally agree with you there. It's hard to not agree with what you've said there. I just want to. There's a wee comment coming in here. Curry Muncher, he's stoked my ego a wee bit because I see him saying, I know you're all footballing experts, but he said, what's the address of the Aberdeen ground? I have a shipment of lubricant and I'd like to post it 4 times a season. Curry, to save you any hassle, see if you just draw a sheet and put a stamp on it, they'll know exactly what you're talking about. So don't worry about that one at all.
That is brilliant.
I couldn't leave out that comment from Curry there. But yeah, Craig, just like to get your overall thoughts on the game before I pick out a few players and get your man of the matches and stuff like that. But I mean, room for improvement still, but comfortable but not ruthless. That is what I feel. I keep saying this pod. And how did you feel about the game as a whole?
I think firstly I'd like to just disagree with Curry there. I think Aberdeen prefer them to go in dry. So that comment aside, I think job done today. Business-like performance. You mentioned the word hindsight a million times. Look, if you watch the game back, you'll just go, "Wow, we strolled it, didn't we?" So 3 points. The result's the most important thing. Totally agree with what Dave says on the midfield, especially what he said about Raskin, allowing Kamara the freedom to go forward. Cantwell, I think I asked one of our guys for the heat map today because he really was everywhere today, right? So I'm happy. It'd be interesting to see, how he brings in Tillman. I think you have to play Tillman. I think you have to play Kent. I'd like to see Fashion playing. But it'll be interesting. He's going to play Raskin. Raskin's, I can't believe we're nearly at the end of the pod and we're just talking about him. But you can see he's just a level above what we have, and he's long may that continue. And I'm looking forward to seeing him in the acid test next week. Put it that way.
Yeah, that's it. And I'll stick with the Raskin point, Dave, but I'll come to you on it. AG here says Raskin always looks to attack, and John Weir says Raskin is tenacious like a wee terrier, can pick out a pass as well. We've got a star. Again, it's hard to disagree with what's been said there. Some of his long passing today really, really, really impressed me, and he wins the ball back, head up, and his first thought is to go forward. Maybe a bit early to say. I saw the comment on social media a few times, like a young Barry Ferguson. As long as he doesn't share some of the opinions of older Barry Ferguson. But what was your overall thoughts in Raskin today? And I think we might have a bit of a player on our hands here if he continues.
I do. I genuinely think Raskin could end up the best player in this league quite easily. I think we need to bear in mind this guy. Yep. I think we need to bear in mind this guy was frozen out at Liège before he moved over.
Yeah.
So he hasn't played in quite a while. This is him coming back after a gap in games. What's he going to be like when he gets up to speed? One, on the pitch, and two, specifically with this team. Over a hill there's mentioned his long passing. I thought his long passing's good, his short passing's good, his duels are good, his tackles are good. He's all over the pitch. All right, it wasn't this game, but if you look back to the Partick game, he was almost on the byline when he set up that goal was it Jolak, I think, scored it. So he gets about everywhere, and he always wants to play on the front foot. And he said it when he came to the club. They do the interview and what kind of player are you? And he said all this, and it's all the right stuff. But you've heard it before. I'm sure Eros Grezda said similar on his interview, and we know how that worked out.
Yeah,
but we're actually seeing it with this guy, and that's what I think's the difference. I'm actually really excited to see. One, what he's like next season, and two, we touched on it in the group chat a bit, but that's two class acts we've bought in the January window, which predominantly is rubbish, and you kind of find talent, and we ended up with flipping Aaron Ramsey out the last one. So to find them, I'm quite excited how this team's going to look if that's the caliber of player they're identifying and going after, to be honest.
Yes, it's very, very encouraging. I mean, that's his second appearance in a Rangers shirt, and I thought he was very good today. We'll come on to our men of the match at the end of the podcast, but there was a point here from RFC 56, Craig. I thought Raskin and Kamara played well together. I totally agree with that in terms of it's something that a lot of games this season I felt as if we've been playing with two sitting midfielders, one's played well, another one's been utterly hopeless, but I think they seem to complement each other quite well, and they had what potentially could be the beginnings of a good understanding in the midfield there.
Yeah, I think when we did the pod the other week there, we picked Rangers' best starting 11. And I picked Kamara, but only an informed Kamara. But Dave made the point earlier that Raskin allowed him the freedom to go and play, and so I couldn't agree more with that. I think we talk about the blend of what's the right blend of midfielders. That's always the conversation. Of course, that's with injuries aside, right? Sometimes changes are necessary due to injury or suspension, but if they didn't, they showed enough today to merit a place in the cup final for me. I thought they complemented each other well. So yeah, we'll see what team he picks, but Kamara had a good game today. And normally I'm one of the first ones to say Kamara's cruising. I don't know how many times I've said Kamara's cruising. And today was one of those games where he very well could have, but he didn't. And I thought he was used to a sniggering away there.
I know. I'm laughing because I've just seen Dave Cornish popping up in the chat, and I was like, he's on this pod. I was like, somebody's imitating you there. But yeah, totally agree with you. Craig, I'm going to stick with you in this wee point here. Paul McGarrigle says, Kyle, on next week, as a sitting midfielder, do we go with Jack alongside Raskin or Lundstrom alongside Raskin? I think Jack would be better suited next to Nicholas Raskin. What's your thoughts on that? Or we might not even have a choice, to be honest with you, but do you have a preference who would be in that role there, Craig?
An on-form Ryan Jack is what you want, an Old Firm match. So in an ideal world, you would bring him in. But I don't know. It's hard to drop Kamara after today's performance. I'm a bit worried, that he doesn't show up next week, and it's kind of a wasted start. But that's the problem for Michael Beale to solve. So we'll see. But yes, if Jack was bang on form, yes, he'd be in the Old Firm Cup final for me. But he's kind of hit and miss at the moment, and it seems that Raskin and Kamara seem to be the better performers. Lundstrom's coming off injury. I'm not sure where he's at. We'll see. Whoever he goes with, I think we put our trust in Michael Beale. I think he's going to pick the team that he thinks best to win the game. Old Firm game takes on a whole different complexion, doesn't it, from a Livy game? So he sees that, and hopefully picks the right team for the result.
Yeah, that's that. Pete Lawrence comes in here and says the Lundstrom and Raskin dynamic hopefully will work well. On paper, that's got the potential to be a really good partnership. But I can't 2 games in, I'm already going, who's the best player to play alongside Raskin? I don't know what that says about our midfield for the early part of the season. But there we go. Dave, the sort of last point or the last player I wanted to talk about before we wrap things up. We've touched on him a couple of times here. We've already mentioned his really good pass through for Roofe, sorry, it was. But it was Todd Cantwell. Thought again, just another good performance. I think he's settling in, I'll say, but a couple of things. He was all over the pitch, as you alluded to in that heat map earlier on there, Craig. He was really good at winning the ball back, quite tenacious. I mean, there was a couple of times for every sort of good moment he had, he did tend to have a bit of a duff thing, a few seconds after it. But overall, it was another really, really good, encouraging performance from Cantwell, Dave.
It was, mate. It was. I think we've touched already. He's always about the pitch. He's always showing for the ball, giving that outlet for other players to find. Just a point on what you said there about. Oh, okay, so first things first. The one you said about potentially, having a duff option after doing something good.
Yeah.
Yes, he did, but a lot of the time, okay, it didn't come off, but you could see what he was trying to do. And it's passes that a lot of our other players just aren't even going to think of playing.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay, 5-6 times out of 10, it might not come off, but the other 4 or 5, when it does, it can be the spark that you need just to get into the game. Was he playing further back? I don't think he was. This is just my feeling, and again, as Craig said a few times, Beale gets paid the big bucks to make these decisions, but it almost feels like Cantwell's got a bit of a free role to kind of move forward and back as he sees fit, to involve himself in the play, to get that link up. And with us going into the Old Firm, one of the things that I've noticed a couple of times under Gio was it's almost like there's two totally separate units. You've got your attack and your defence, and there's no really any link between them. I think Cantwell gives you that. I think potentially Kamara can give you that if he partners Raskin. And I think that's really, really vital because we've missed it. And you just end up punting balls aimlessly and, nothing really comes off. So I think Cantwell can do that. I think he can drop deep, take the ball, play the pass. Sometimes it might not come off, but, when it does, it's pretty special and it can free up someone to run through on goals, potentially a Kent or Sakala, getting that pass and they're through on goal. So for me, no surprise he was back a bit, and I thought he had a good game. Yeah, I think maybe drifts in and out at times, but you always get that with that style of attacking player. Again, if they could do that for the entire game, they wouldn't be at Rangers in the Scottish League. So.
Yeah, I totally agree. It is an interesting one there with Cantwell. I'll come to you, Craig, the sort of final point of the pod. I think that something Dave raised there, and the specific instance that I'll talk about was when I thought that Cantwell should have shot in the first half, and he tried to play that wee through ball to Sakala, sorry. Do you think that the players in the squad are just still sort of taking a bit of time to get up to his level? Because as Dave said, I don't think a lot of players were maybe. I don't think Sakala was expecting that pass, but if he was onto it, he would have been through on goal.
Yeah, no, good point. He's an intelligent player, isn't he, Cantwell? You can see that. He's very mobile. He's always available for a pass. I thought he had a great game today. It was between him and Raskin for my man of the match. Yeah, it's his fourth game or something. So the players are still learning each other, how they're playing. I don't think we've really had Cantwell type of player in the team since Hadji departed, maybe, you could argue. Hadji was one of those players that could see a pass nobody else could see as well, had that intelligence. So I think we've missed that. So it's nice to see it back. But yeah, Cantwell did fine today, as long as he can stay fit. I mean, he's getting clattered. He maybe needs to learn to move the ball quicker because he can certainly pick a pass. But he, a couple of times he dwelled on the ball and he got absolutely clattered. So the last thing we need is another injury to one of our key players, and I believe he will be a key player for the run-in.
Yes, it's a couple of fantastic additions. I'm glad that we're talking about the two players in the game that we're highlighting are the two signings that we've made in the January transfer window, and it's hopefully a sign of things to come. Dave, just before we go, I'll trouble you for a man of the match.
I was on mute there as well. Aye, Raskin for me, mate. Cantwell possibly a close second, but I think Raskin just edged it for me.
Yeah, and Craig, who was your man of the match?
Yeah, I'll go with Raskin as well. Hard not to, really. I think he showed his quality and really strolled through the game. I don't even think I think he's got another gear to find, and maybe we'll see that, in the cup final. Hopefully we do. But Cantwell a close second, but yeah, Nico Raskin, man of the match.
Yeah, I agree with the two of you there. It's Nico Raskin impressed with his range of passing and his tenacity at times to go and win that ball back. John Weir here says Raskin man of the match, Curry Muncher, Raskin as well, and Ofra Hill has got Raskin too. So yeah. That just about sums it up for today. Thanks everybody for joining us. There was a comment again I was going to bring up here. Curry Muncher says, oh wait, it's not that one. It's about my Kunsel water. He says there's no way a posh lad like me is drinking Kunsel water. I can confirm, straight for Loch Catron. It's absolutely beautiful. But just want to say thanks to everybody for joining us. The next pod will be tomorrow night with Scott Patterson. I am not sure who the guests are on that one, but as always, it will be a great pod. We'll discuss the game and a few other things. But just want to say, if you've not done so already, give us a like and subscribe. But just want to say before we go, thanks to you, Dave, for joining us.
Aye, cheers for having me, mate.
And thanks for joining us again all the way from Texas, Craig.
Thanks, Kyle. It's an absolute pleasure, mate.
Thanks everybody for watching and joining, and take care.